You're watching WALA Fox 10. We interrupt this program for a special weather update from Fox 10 Action News.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Daughtry, Fox 10 Action News, and our Storm Team 10 welcoming you to as we begin our continuous coverage of Hurricane Danny. And Danny, at this hour, I could sum up in 6 words: hurricane warning, tornado watch, and flash floods. And if you live in an area around Mobile Bay, Fort Morgan, Fairhope, all the way over to Pensacola and the rest of northwest Florida, you need to pay special close attention to those 6 words. And now to tell us why is our meteorologist, Melissa Bell.
Thanks, Dave. That's right. We're going to be watching Danny kind of meander now, but appears to be making its way much closer now to land. The official coordinates: 30.2 north, 88.0 west, 25 miles south-southeast of Mobile. But still, we have the hurricane warning in effect as far over as Apalachicola, because you'll be feeling the effects that far over with the winds and the rain. But, and of course, on over to Gulfport. So this area is still under the hurricane warning and still have the tornado watch and flash flood watch in effect as well. So we'll have to see if we have any of that developing. But talking about the wind speeds, we showed you this earlier, base velocity, showing you what the Doppler radar can do. It can actually show us how fast the winds are blowing, and that's what the colors are telling us, how fast it's blowing. Basically, what's important to know, the darkest red is right now 64 knots, or about 74 miles an hour in the darkest red areas here, and the light green, that right here you see over Fort Morgan, just starting to enter into the eastern shore now, Point Clear, Weeks Bay. That is also hurricane force, about 64 knots. See the color here? So that's about 74 miles an hour. So we can actually see the wind speeds right now as the eye kind of meanders right over Fort Morgan and entering into Mobile Bay. It's kind of meandering right now. We're not too sure if it's going to stay on a north-northeast track or if it will kind of wobble a little towards the northeast. But these areas right in here, from the southwestern portion of Baldwin County, southeastern portion of Mobile County, you're feeling the strongest winds right now, the hurricane force winds right around that eye. And even as far up as downtown Mobile, experiencing winds sustained right around 40 to 45 miles an hour, and it's going to continue to increase, because if the eye meanders and continues to push up in a northeasterly direction, so will those strong winds. So we're going to be anticipating the rain to pick up. We can hear it right now on the roof pounding away, so the rain's going to continue to come on in, and again the winds are going to continue to pick up. But let's take a look at storm track radar, and we're watching. You can see the wide view right now as far as the rain goes. The rain does extend a little bit past Panama City, but you can see that as far as Pascagoula goes, west of Pascagoula, things are clearing up. So for the most part, the main rain focus right around the eye right now, and it is, like I said, passing over Fort Morgan into Mobile Bay, and we can zoom into that, and that's what we're looking at right here. So the eye just passing over Fort Morgan, extending the main threat, of course, with the onshore flow and the storm surge. That threat anywhere east of the eye, from Gulf Shores on over towards Orange Beach and Pensacola Beach, still going to be experiencing the pounding surf against the shorelines. But, you know, we can't forget about Dauphin Island, still experiencing the strong winds and the heavy rain. And taking it an even closer, we can zoom on in and show you where the spiral band's wrapping around the eye right now. We can actually see that. And again, the heavier rainfall right now, you can see this orange color right here, right around close to the Weeks Bay area, and just south of Fairhope, some heavier showers here in this band, and also a band right back here over in Mobile County. So of course we're getting heavy rains on both sides of the eye, and the strong winds as well. So we're going to continue to watch this, and like I said, as the eye kind of continues to drift up in this direction, here's Mobile Bay all in this area. As it continues to slide up, so will the strong winds, because the winds are always tighter right around the eye, and of course the rains will continue to pick up. But we're going to keep a close eye on this and continue to update its movement. Dave?
And just within the past 6 hours or so, the state of Florida added another dozen counties, primarily in the central and north central part of the state. The closer we get to determining the precise movements of Danny over a period of time, the more we may be able to tell about whether those counties at some point earlier than others will be allowed to be removed from the hurricane warning, because it is beginning to look more and more as though Hurricane Danny will, in fact, make landfall somewhere between here and Pensacola. Margaret Moore is standing by. She joins us now as we continue our coverage of Hurricane Danny, and she's out on Government Street. And Margaret, is it in fact picking up out there?
Boy, I'll tell you, if you could just see the awning behind me at the Admiral Sims, it's going crazy in the wind. There's lots and lots of rain in the streets. I just drove in, and it was really hard to stay in the road. It's pretty bad out here, and it looks like it's getting worse. Dave, I'm going to toss it back to you. I guess you can see.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. We have a Beth Pate who's joining us now. She's over in Daphne. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Dave.
What's it like over there?
Well, just about 4 hours ago, not much wind. Now the winds have really picked up. Trees about 20 feet high are blowing parallel to the ground, as I see. And the wind is sprinkling over here, but of course with the heavy winds, it certainly does make it feel like sharp needles hitting you.
Are there any other people out, or are you out there by yourself?
I'm just basically out right next. Not too far. It's not really hard to stand up right now, but it certainly is. The winds are amazingly quickly picking up.
And has this changed for the worse in, say, the last hour or so?
In the last hour, yes, but of course considerably amount has changed since around 12:45 this evening, of course. I think we all went to bed thinking that we were going to be out of the danger zone in the Daphne area, and I think we had a rude awakening this morning at around 4:30.
You haven't had any power outages that you're aware of?
No, it seems like in our area, we are all having power here, but of course the cable is out, so the only station we are getting around here is, of course, Fox 10, so.
Do you know if any of the people in your neighborhood voluntarily left their homes?
Not that I'm aware of. It's a very new neighborhood, very sturdy houses. We do have a trailer park very close to the area, which I'm pretty sure that most of the people did evacuate in that area.
And have you seen any broken limbs, any trees down?
Yes, some smaller trees have not been able to withstand the wind so far. So, and of course, like I said, the trees that are 20 feet high, they don't look like they're going to make it either. They're now blowing parallel to the ground.
Okay, Beth, I guess this is not your first hurricane, huh?
No, it's certainly not.
Okay. Thanks for sharing with us. And you stay safe and stay dry, or try to.
Okay, we'll try to over here.
Okay, thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
That's Beth Pates from Daphne joining us to describe the situation out there, and it's pretty much looking the same way just about everywhere. We'll be back with more as our coverage of Hurricane Danny continues in a moment. And our special coverage of Hurricane Danny continues. A reminder before we go over to our meteorologist for an update on Danny that the Storm Team 10 network is a consortium of radio stations throughout this area who are joining us and keeping you informed and updated on what's happening with the storm. Here you see them displayed on the screen: WABB FM 97.5 and AM 1480. WBLX FM 92.9 and AM 660, WAVH FM 106.5, WWRO FM 100.7, all members of our action teams, our Storm Team 10, WCOA AM News Talk Radio in Pensacola 1370, WLVV AM 1410, WDLT FM 98.3, WMFC FM 99.3 and AM 1360. You may want, as you see these stations listed throughout the morning, write them down, or your favorite station, or one that you'd like to listen to, and then you'll have a complete list of them. We have a notice here that Delta airline flights will not be running today, at least until 2 p.m., and it's probably pretty much a sure thing that most of the other airlines are grounded too, at least for the time being. And now to meteorologist Melissa Bell.
Thanks a lot, Dave. And of course, we have been watching the movement of it. We wanted to show you the movement first before we take it in a little bit closer. Watching the eye, it gradually earlier today moved on over Fort Morgan, and right now just kind of sandwiched right in Mobile Bay between Baldwin County and Mobile County. You can kind of just see it on the last frame here where it's just kind of sandwiched right in the middle here, just already passing over Fort Morgan. Let's take it in a little bit tighter on our storm track radar, and we can actually you can really hone down close to tighter locations and see where it is. And we're watching, of course, still quite a bit of rainfall over the panhandle, but the heavier rains and the winds now are right around the eye. And since the eye is sandwiched right in the middle of Mobile Bay, people in Baldwin and Mobile counties are paying close attention to this. So we're watching the onshore flow all the way from Gulf Shores to Orange Beach. You're still getting the winds coming onshore, so the storm surge is going to be really rough for you. And of course, here's the eye. You can see where the location is. Here's Mobile Bay, Baldwin County and Baldwin County, Mobile County. So here's the eye right now. With this circulation, we're going to be watching for onshore flow of the west end, the west bay, the west side of Mobile Bay, because we're going to get those winds pounding right along the side here. So that's going to be another problem for you folks that are living pretty close to the water there on the western shore. And you can see right now some stronger bands of rain that are going to be pushing pretty close into the Weeks Bay area, and eventually Point Clear and Fairhope are going to be feeling the effects of the stronger winds and rain. But we'll update you with more in just a moment. Dave?
And needless to say, just about all of our Action News team, Action 10 News team, is out and about today. Amy Greer Thompson has been with us just about all night long, and she joins us again. Amy, have you left Gulf Shore or still there?
We're still here right now, Dave. Photographer Alan Tuggle and I are trying to get the line front to get you some pictures. We're moving toward the Fairhope and Point Clear area. As we know, the storm, as Melissa said, is moving in that direction. It has been quite a night here in Gulf Shores, and as we're trying to drive, these tremendous winds are the wind and sand is just screaming across the roadway, making it very, very difficult to drive, and the visibility is very, very poor. We are seeing a few things down, some branches, a little bit of damage, just the kind of typical things you would expect. Oh my gosh, looks like a satellite dish just fallen off the top of a hotel here as we pull in to a hotel awning. Looks like something has definitely, a satellite dish has tumbled and fallen and crumpled up, and a car appears to have been damaged. Just drove up and see this right now.
Where?
We are still in Gulf Shores. Still in Gulf Shores, right off 182. It's just a Holiday Inn. There appears to be definitely some storm damage here. We had some reports of water spouts earlier. That's one thing. We never know whether these were the straight line winds that may have caused this kind of damage or a water spout, like we saw the one that damaged the marina down the road. Transformers have been popping. You see the bluish, green and blue lights as the transformers have popped. We can see them popping up and down the roadway of 182. And the power right now is out. I do believe it went out around 2 o'clock in the morning. So we did get a hotel room for just a couple of hours to seek shelter, and have had no power. It does appear to still be out. It's kind of eerie driving around with no street lights and no visibility at all.
Does it seem to be over a widespread area, Amy?
Yes, it does. As far as the power outage date, yes. It started really, the south end, at the pavilion, we saw the lights immediately go out, and then the lights began along 182 apparently have gone out. And as we tried to drive north just now up 59. The lights were obviously out quite a good ways. I'm not sure if it went all the way to Foley, but we'll let you know as soon as we start heading that direction.
And you've been getting really some pretty severe weather over there for at least 4 or 5 hours, haven't you?
Yes, very steady. Straight line winds, they were measuring here, I think, about 75 miles an hour sustained, as Melissa's been telling us. And we're just feeling that pounding. Just the wind is almost like screaming. You can just hear it as it comes through crevices in some of the buildings and the hotel where we were. Definitely, it's pretty strong right now.
Amy, do you have any feel at all for how many people may have voluntarily evacuated the area? Did most people stay home?
Well, I tell you, just from watching the traffic along 59 as we drove down here yesterday morning, I think a lot of folks did head home, but I think a lot of those folks were tourists who may have just said, well, they were going to give up on weekend plans, knowing they weren't going to see much of the sun. We talked to a lot of folks heading back home to Nashville, to Jackson, to Lafayette, Louisiana. People just kind of giving up on vacation plans. A lot of folks, though, still here. There are plenty of cars still here in the parking lot. Some people, a lot of folks wanted to just wait this one out and see what happens.
Yeah. seems a little early to make decisions to shorten a vacation. Who knows?
I know. You know,
Anything
exactly. This storm, as you mentioned, Dave, it's almost a cat and mouse game like Elena. It's just so hard to make plans and try to judge what it's going to do, and that's really kind of left some folks unable to make plans. There's been some real frustration because of that.
Okay, thank you, Amy. We'll look forward to your pictures and to further reports throughout the morning. Thank you very much. Our president and general manager is a part of this team, too. Joe Cook, he's standing by on Hollander Island. Joe, what's the situation over there? Okay, we'll get to Joe in just a moment. We also have some other reports coming up as we try to survey damage. We'll be going to Pensacola in just a little while, and we'll be back with more of our coverage of Hurricane Danny right after these messages, so please stay with us. And our Storm Team 10 network coverage of Hurricane Danny continues. If you just joined us, Amy Greer Thompson told us a few moments ago there seems to be a considerable amount of damage in the area of Gulf Shores, including a power outage. They've had sustained winds of 75 miles an hour for the past several hours. It sounds as though we're getting winds of probably 40 or 50 miles an hour at least out on the streets of downtown Mobile. And we find out by joining Margaret Moore right now. Margaret?
That would be correct. There's no keeping this hood up, I'll tell you that. And the roads are filling up with water so much that it's up to the curb at this point. There's one guy crazy enough to be driving out there, and that's Cecil Maxwell with Bender's Shipyard. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you're out there taking care of your boats and making sure that everything's okay.
Right. Work for Bender's, and we have boats here at the docks at the shipyard and over at the state docks, and we're just keeping an eye on all our boats to make sure that nothing happens and we don't have any problems. So we're just out here as a safety precaution.
So what are they looking like now? Are things pretty choppy on the water?
Oh, the water, it sucked a lot of water out of the river, and we had to do a lot of adjusting to our ropes and this, that, and the other. But now I believe with the hurricane coming up in the rivers and the bays, it looks like we're going to be tightening the ropes back up because the boats is coming back up again.
Now, how would you compare this to something like Frederick? Were you here for that?
Yeah, this ain't no storm compared to Frederick. I was here during Frederick and Camille, so I've been here in Mobile all my life.
So you feel like you're capable of weathering this storm?
This ain't no bad storm. Yeah, ain't no problem.
All righty. Well, listen, you all stay safe out there.
We're going to try.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll tell you, I sure wouldn't want to get out and drive in this, and I wouldn't suggest that anyone do this, and don't even try to go outside and get your furniture or your plants or anything at this point. I would say it's getting very bad, and you need to take care.
Margaret, he's exactly right. In comparison with Camille and Frederick, this really isn't a storm. The potential problem really, as we've been discussing most of the night, is the rain that may result from all of this. As many as 10 to 20 inches, and I know we'd had 5 inches in Pensacola before noon today, and we probably had at least that much here in Mobile.
Well, Dave, I'll tell you, the streets are very flooded. He was having a hard time driving off just a few minutes ago. So we're going to keep you posted. If you can look behind me at the Admiral Sims, you can see the awning is just going in the wind. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that come off tonight. And actually, here comes one other car. It's a police car. I guess they're trying to keep everybody safe. But he's driving in the middle of the road, as you can see. He's even having a hard time.
It hasn't changed a bit out there. Thank you, Margaret. We'll come back to you and check up a little bit later on. I think Joe Cook is ready to join us now. He's out on Hollander's Island. Joe, do you still have power and all the amenities out there?
Yeah, we still have power, Dave. The wind is really whipping through here. We're literally on the bay, and it seems that from our point of view, the wind is coming from the north. Which is, I guess, consistent with the way this thing would turn.
Can you guess how much wind you have? 40 miles, 60 miles?
I don't have a wind gauge. I can just tell you it's strong enough to blow over a really large sweet gum tree in my neighbor's yard. Fortunately, it missed the house because it's about the length of their house laying down. That reminds me of Frederick. I know we were just making comparisons for the storm to others, but on one side of the house, little pieces of limbs and trees are laying there, but just small things. And of course, on the bay side of the house, where the wind is really strong, that's where some parts of my house are swinging out there. Some screens and a screen porch are look like they're history.
Joe, do you feel as if you are getting the brunt of this storm now?
Well, this is as strong as it's been since it started here, and so I don't know if we're getting the brunt of it or not, but we're getting some pretty strong winds. Like I say, it appears coming from the north, which is, I thought, good thing about that, I can't see my pier and can't see the water, so hopefully it's pushing the water to the south and not bringing more in.
As far as you know, did the people who live out there around you secure their boats?
Oh, yeah, I think everybody got their boats out, or either, you know, if they're up on lifts, pulled them up as far as they could and tied them down. We're just at the mercy of the, you know, how high the water gets as far as that goes.
And did most of the people out on Hollander's Island choose to remain at home?
I think most of the neighbors are here. I think everybody feels secure here, and I'm sure some people did leave.
Riding it out, though, huh? Most of them. Okay.
Well, you stay safe down there, Dave.
Thank you, Joe, and thanks for calling in. Keep in touch with us, would you?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks again. Okay, we have Kavita Tamala is joining us. She's over at Fort Morgan, and right now it looks as though that may be the place where Danny pays the closest visit. Kavita? Kavita Tamala, you there? I think she's... And that it could be because that's exactly what's happening over there around Fort Morgan. The National Hurricane Center had told us a little while ago they were ready to say that it looked as though this would be the place Danny would come ashore. Our meteorologist, Melissa Bell, is standing by, and she has some more information for us. Melissa?
Thanks, Dave. That's right. And we have new coordinates to give you. A slight movement to the north now, 30.3 north, 88.0 west. So it is looking like the past couple hours, a few inches, just kind of moving ever so slowly up to the north right now. And we've been watching the radar. You can still see the motion right now. The eye kind of just sliding, like we said, almost on a north-northeasterly track into Mobile Bay. And we can take it in a little bit closer and show you on our Storm Track 10 radar exactly what's happening along the bay. We're going to be experiencing the winds and the rain pushing on up from the south along the southern portions of Baldwin County, and then wrap around down the north side over Mobile County. So we're going to continue to see the rain and the winds, and we can actually see how fast the winds are going. Thanks to Doppler radar, we can actually watch the winds and the wind speeds. And what we're looking at, basically what's important are the colors. Well, the green just means it's going towards the Mobile Doppler radar, and the red meaning away. But what's important is to look at the scale here. The light green, 64 knots, or equivalent to 74 miles an hour. The darkest red, the same, 64 knots, or 74 miles an hour. And you can see where the color is right now. The darkest red starting to hedge on into the southeastern portions of Mobile County and the southwest portions of Baldwin County. So everywhere from Fort Morgan on up towards Weeks Bay, Point Clear, into Fairhope, you're going to start feeling the effects of hurricane force winds, 74-mile-an-hour winds in this area, and that's going to wrap around the other side of the bay to the western shore. And that's where we're going to feel the same force winds, but they'll just be coming out of the north now because we're going to get the circulation right in the bay. So we can actually monitor the wind speeds right now and see that they are pretty increasing as it slides on up into the bay. And as it moves further to the north, that means in downtown Mobile, the winds are going to continue to increase, as does the rain. So we're going to continue to monitor this, and we'll have more with you in just a moment. Dave?
Melissa's showing you the Storm Track computer system we've been bragging about most of the night. What a remarkable system. It's state-of-the-art and can even compute for us the speed in different parts within this hurricane. We're going to be taking a look and see what's going on here out on the street. There you see the location, the coordinates for Hurricane Danny at the moment. The winds continue to blow. The rain continues to fall. This storm, hopefully, will begin to get a little ragged, a little jagged around the edges and start to break up as it moves inland. And in the course of doing that, hopefully it will lose considerable strength, and hitting the ground will mean taking some of the punch out of Danny, but don't expect it not to rain As a matter of fact, Melissa was telling us earlier, we're probably going to see some rain out of this for at least a couple of days until some kind of system, a low-pressure system, something moves in behind it and pushes it on out of the way, and then we can get it out of here. But you were just looking at some scenes out on Government Street, and the wind still picking up and the rain still falling, and we go back to Melissa.
Thanks, Dave. And we're now looking at Storm Track 10 radar, and we are watching. You can see the eye right now, and look at all the rain right now wrapping around the eye. And here's Mobile Bay. So right now, everywhere, Gulf Shore still receiving the storm surge, and all along, extending on over towards Orange Beach. You're going to continue to feel that surge with the winds coming up out of the south. But as the winds continue to wrap around the eye in Mobile County, they're going to be coming out of the north, almost a northeasterly direction, going to be coming on down. So the winds, of course, right around the eye, hurricane force, 74-mile-an-hour winds right in this area. And we can take it in even closer and show you the precipitation in this area right now, just on the eastern bank, the eastern portion of Mobile County. Right now, the western shore, you can see in orange and red receiving some heavier rain showers right now, and you can see how close to the eye it is. So along with the heavy rain, you're getting those winds whipping around the eye right now, and just kind of down to Dauphin Island. So Dauphin Island's still going to receive the heavy rains and winds, even though they don't have the problem of storm surge. Remember, the storm surge is going to be east of the eye, so Gulf Shores, still, they're not done with it yet. And as the eye continues to move, if it does continue to move in an east or a northeasterly direction, still kind of hard to tell. It hasn't really picked up massive momentum, so we're going to watch it. But if it tracks up in this direction, we're talking about Point Clear, we're talking Fairhope, and we're talking about downtown Mobile continuing to pick up the rain, and the wind speeds are going to continue to pick up as well. So people in this area, well, just brace yourselves, because as you can see, we're not through with it yet. There's definitely more on the way. Dave?
Okay, we've had a report of one death that may be directly attributed to Danny. We've had no other reports since this one. Yesterday afternoon about 3 o'clock, there was a report of a boat coming ashore. This was near Fort Morgan, as a matter of fact, at the 3-mile marker. A county deputy was dispatched to the scene. He found the wreckage of the boat, looked around, and then found the body of a man who as yet has not been identified, or the name of the person has not been released. It is believed the boat was some 3 miles out in the Gulf and got into trouble, and then was washed ashore. There was another death, a 65-year-old man who apparently was trying to get his boat secured in advance of the arrival of Danny, and he collapsed and apparently died of a heart attack. There have been a lot of temporary shelters set up throughout the... Joel Simmons, I understand, is joining us by telephone in the Theodore Ship Channel. Joe, you there?
Yes, sir. Morning, Dave.
Good morning. You riding out the storm over there, are you?
Yeah, sitting on here just bouncing around, floating.
Tell us what it's been like. What's it like now?
Well, it was fairly nice, just kind of like a heavy, typical summer thunderstorm. But
right.
Woke up this morning, things changed a little bit.
It's been a strange hurricane, hasn't it, Joe?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that one, maybe 2 years ago that just bounced up and down the coast of Florida.
Yeah, you run into pockets of it where it's like a springtime day, and then all of a sudden, the wind picks up.
Yes, sir, and then you go to bed one minute and you wake up, think it's going the other way, and then it's on top of you.
Mm-hmm. Well, have you had any damage at all over where you live around Theodore?
No, we haven't seen no damage. We're up in the Theodore Industrial Canal on a boat, and
any flooding?
No, that's one of the concerns we had. We was worried about the surge. You know, if we was going to get the tide.
Yeah.
With the surge, but right now the tide hasn't seemed to come in very much. But that's one of the things we're watching.
Okay. Well, anybody having hurricane parties over there?
No, we're just trying to tend to the vessels and watch out for each other.
But everybody's riding it out, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've got pretty strong winds and heavy rain up here, and it don't look like it's letting up any.
Well, Joe, thanks for calling us.
Yes, sir.
And for sharing with our friends and neighbors and let us know how things are out in Theodore. We appreciate it.
Okay, Dave.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more coverage of Hurricane Danny right after these messages. Please don't go away. Hey! Fox 10 Action News coverage of Hurricane Danny continues, and right now we really get a grip on things. My colleague Bob Grip joining us. Bob, it's been quite a hectic night. You've gotten a few hours sleep, and I guess ready to go again, huh?
Right. I went peacefully to sleep, and then only to be rudely awakened by the hurricane coming back.
Yeah, could you believe it?
What a difference a couple of hours makes.
Isn't that the truth?
You know, Carol Joyner from the Sheriff's Department last night said, you know, we shouldn't think that we're out of danger just because it appears that the storm is passing to the east of us, and she was right, because it turned around and decided to come back.
That's right, like Elena and some others. You really never know.
Never know.
I have one closing to announce. The YMCA, Baldwin and Mobile counties will be closed today.
All right, let's check in with James Gordan, who has been down on Dauphin Island since the storm started to approach and has been on the island all night long. James, how are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're doing fine. Photographer Spain and I pretty much got up, about an hour and a half ago. We managed to get a couple hours sleep as well. But again, you know, the wind has been howling constantly, nonstop, rain nonstop. A pretty busy night, although, you know, the island is pretty much been vacated. There are some people who did spend the night here, but for the most part, it's a deserted island except for emergency personnel and so forth. But pretty much the same thing as most of the Gulf Coast this morning. Still the heavy winds and rain where we are right now.
James, anyone lost power over there?
Well, Dauphin Island, Dave, has been without power since about 6:30 last evening because they did it for emergency purposes, for security purposes, to maintain any type of possibility of a fire or anything like that because of the high wind.
Now, James, are you still over in the Fort Gaines area?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we just drove up to the same spot we were at last night, right across the street from Fort Gaines, and it's still there.
Okay, because the radar shows there's some intense thunderstorm activity probably crossing the central part of the island right now, and you're right on the edge of the eye. I don't know if you may even see some calm if you look toward the east.
You're right, because we drove up to our spot probably about 5 minutes ago, and the rain was much heavier and the wind was heavier. And as we started our conversation a couple seconds ago, it seems to have died down just a bit. So maybe we are on the fringes of that eye. I mean, it's got an eerie calm at this moment.
Do you see any sign of visible damage, trees down, that kind of thing?
Not really. On the road to the spot that we are right now, there was some debris, but nothing that was impassable. It was, leaves, branches, things like that. But it doesn't look like there's any structural damage to anything on our way to our spot here. You know, the Dauphin Island Sea Lab is right across the street from where we're standing right now, and it looks like there was no damage done to that, to any of the old structures, even the new construction that's undergoing for the Sea Lab.
Any flooding?
Well, we are no flooding, but I can imagine that probably on the western of the island there may be some, because that is an area that typically does flood. We wouldn't want to venture that way because we may end up getting trapped. But from past experience, the west end does get flooded.
Well, don't venture that way, James.
We won't.
All right, thank you. James Gordan reporting live on the telephone from Dauphin Island. We had been used to seeing pictures from James, but as you can imagine, the winds are too high for us to get live pictures out of there, so we're going to rely on our cell phone. And as James had mentioned, the island has been in the dark for almost 12 hours now.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll be taking pictures, and we'll get a look at them as the morning goes along.
Just as soon as possible. Well, Melissa Bell is standing by, and I know a lot of you are probably just waking up saying, what's all that rain I hear? I thought the storm is out of here. Melissa?
That's right, and definitely more on the way, but the latest coordinates 30.3 north, 88.0 west, and we're expecting an update in just a short time as far as the update to the coordinates go. Right now it's kind of moving on a north-northeast slow drift right now, and we can watch the motion of it. So we're still watching precipitation, still heading into the Panhandle. You're still getting quite a bit of rain on over across Escambia County and back over Santa Rosa, Okaloosa counties. You can see these bands, so they're still going to receive quite a bit of rain, but the main focus, of course, is around the eye because that's where the intense winds are. And we're also going to watch, of course, for the storm surge anywhere east of the eye along Gulf Shores. And we can go in even tighter with our Storm Track 10 radar, and we can show you where that is occurring right now. The heavier surge occurring anywhere east. So we're talking about Gulf Shores. We're talking about on over towards anywhere Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, because here's the eye just entering into Mobile Bay. Here's Mobile Bay right here, Baldwin County, Mobile County with the eye. We're going to watch the winds whip around in this direction. So right now Dauphin Island should be receiving those winds out of the north, where Gulf Shores winds out of the south. So with those southerly winds pumping in, especially at hurricane strength, 74 miles an hour, we're talking about the strong surge all the way across to Pensacola. And another interesting thing is the surge across the bay. We're talking about the water going from the eastern shore on over towards Mobile County. So we're going to get the water whipping up along the edge of the bay here. So that's going to be another problem for folks that live right along the edge of the bay. And we're going to continue to see the winds just tracking this direction. If it slides on up, continuing to push in this direction, that we're going to watch an increase of precipitation and the winds as it heads on up towards Fairhope, and then eventually even downtown Mobile. We can hear right now how the rains have been picking up, and it sounds quite windy out there. So we're going to continue to monitor the activity of it, and continue to post any updates for you. Dave?
Called in a little while ago, and he said he was getting the brunt of the wind, it seemed, Bob, from out of the north. Would that, he was at Hollanders Island, would that put him on the west side?
Yes.
Danny?
Yeah, as it would whip around in a counterclockwise fashion, I would think that's exactly right. Christine Pippin from Fairhope is on the phone with us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi.
What is it like in Fairhope this morning?
It's gotten pretty bad over here.
Are you calling from home or from a boat or what?
I'm from home right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, we were able to watch the 4 o'clock broadcast on Channel 10, and we lost power shortly after that. And it keeps getting worse.
Is power still out?
Power's still out.
Is it pretty widespread over there, do you know?
I've got an uncle staying down at the Holiday Inn in Fairhope, and he said he lost it before 4, so... Yeah, pretty sure it's pretty widespread down here.
Can you look out your window and see if any trees are down, anything like that?
I don't see any trees down. It's blowing pretty good. It looks like some might come down pretty soon if it keeps up. The yard's flooded. We've got Lake Pippin in the front yard. But...
Did the wind wake you up this morning, or did you go to bed peacefully thinking everything was okay?
Well, I'm getting married today, so...
Oh, my.
Supposedly, but...
You can maybe get married at home.
I hope so.
Well, it's certainly a wedding you will never forget, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What's your husband's name? It's not Danny, is it?
No, it's Tim.
Tim, okay.
But, yeah, I'm hoping it'll blow up.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks so much for calling us. Good luck to you, and good luck in your marriage today.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Okay, we understand we just received word of a possible tornado in the Foley area. In the Foley area, we're trying to work on confirmation of that and try to get a hold of Amy Greer Thompson, who's been in Gulf Shores for hours and hours now, just to check on that. We're zooming in on the Foley area now, and you can see some bits of intense thunderstorm activity just to the west of Foley, and you can also see some of it in the Weeks Bay area as well, south of Fairhope, and heading toward the Point Clear area as well.
We're going to get a closer look now.
Right, we don't know if any of the activity you see here on your screen is the tornado we've heard reported, but we'll also try to describe things best we can for those of you who are without power and are listening to us on the radio, on the emergency news service that we have. We have Amy Greer Thompson on the phone right now. Amy, what can you tell us?
Bob, pretty amazing sight right here. I'm in the parking lot in Foley at I think it's the United Bank, and I believe it's in a furniture store. I believe it's J&J Furniture. About 500 yards away from me is a very large funnel cloud that I can see it, a very small, slender column. I believe it has apparently been touching down right in this area. we pulled over here to get some footage of some storm damage where apparently we could tell that something had ripped through this furniture store. It's right next to Babcock Furniture. We're right in Foley on 59. And we could see something had just ripped through. The awning is all torn off. The roof has been torn off this building. The windows are shattered out. And as we stopped to get these pictures, we looked, and just right in front of us is a funnel cloud that appears stationary. It doesn't appear to be moving. It's just touching down, and it's pretty well formed. So it's right here. Obviously, it's one of the things we're concerned about always with a storm like this.
Amy, did you say the funnel cloud is touching down? Or?
I can't tell. There's a bank. Regions Bank is between us right now and the cloud, and I can't tell if it's touching the ground or not. The bank is stealing my view of it.
How far away are you from the funnel cloud right now?
I'm probably around 500 yards.
Can you tell which way it's moving? Is it moving toward you?
I can't. Believe me, I'm keeping a very good eye on it. We are facing it right now, and it appears almost stationary. I mean, it appears like it's just staying in one spot. It's a dark blue, kind of a slender column that is just is right there. We've been here probably around almost 5 minutes now, and it appears to be in the same spot.
Can you hear anything like the train sound that we're so commonly hearing about?
I tell you what, Bob, the winds are so tremendous right now. I'm not sure I can hear it above the overall roar of the wind that's hammering us already. We're getting these 75-mile-an-hour sustained winds right here, I believe, in Foley. I mean, it's just tremendous. We've been seeing debris and damage along the roadways, and as I said, we stopped to see what had happened to this furniture store right here, and I would just hazard a guess here that this funnel cloud just ripped through this door and has somehow kind of stalled out just not far away.
Well, they would be on the eastern side, wouldn't they, of Danny?
Right.
They would be getting the brunt of the winds over there.
Exactly.
Okay, based on the damage you've seen and where you see the funnel cloud now, which direction is this heading?
North on 59.
Okay, it's heading north on 59.
Right.
Okay.
Would it be toward the interstate?
Well, we're pretty good ways away from the interstate right now. We are keeping an eye on it, again, very closely. It's more well-formed now. We're getting back on 59 where we can really see it. And, again, it's extremely slender. I mean, it's a very slender, long column. It's very long and very well-formed, and it appears to be right over 59.
Those
in fact, it's directly in our path, I would say.
It would be heading in the direction of Robertsdale?
Right.
Oh, okay.
It's we're about to pass right by it, I believe. So we will probably be getting a better look at it right
So
here.
you're in the car moving?
We're very close to it right now. We will keep you posted here on what we need to do next. But it's
well, those who are listening to the network or who are listening to us at the moment on television may want to pay close attention as we continue to track what could well be a funnel and with a potential tornado.
That's right. We've talked about, one of the many dangers beside the wind of the hurricane, also the tornadoes that it can spawn. And as Amy just mentioned, in case you're just joining us, she is actually tracking down a hurricane or a tornado right now north of Foley, sort of on 59, going north toward Robertsdale, and talked about some damage that she saw in Foley. So we'll be getting back to Amy Greer Thompson just as soon as we can.
And Carolyn Day is joining us now, I understand. Carolyn is where? In Fairhope. Carolyn, you there?
Yes, we are here. We just made our way through Fairhope, and I think photographer Brad Gunther said it best. It's an absolute obstacle course out here. I mean, we were just doing all we could to get down the road, dodging everything inside. We're talking about full trees covering the entire street. We were able, to get by just at the very edge of the street. We're talking about power lines, hitting the top of the car. We were barely able to make it under there. It is really something right now. We are headed right into the eye of the storm, so things are getting pretty excited out here. The winds are really kicking up, and it's a rough drive, to say the least. So we will keep you guys updated as we get a little closer to things here.
Carolyn, you've spent most of last night in the Pensacola area.
Yes,
were they spared the brunt of this?
I think at this point, I would venture a guess to say yes. Brad and I left Pensacola very, very early this morning, probably around 2 o'clock, so we have not been there for a few hours. But when we left there, things were looking pretty good. It was pretty calm with just some light rain.
Okay, we're looking at the radar that we have in front of us right now, and it looks like the eye of the storm may be headed toward you. To give you an idea, for those of you who are just listening to us and can't see us, The eye is covering the mouth of Mobile Bay at this point and appears to be heading north up the bay. So it's skirting the Weeks Bay area. It's coming up on the eastern shore of Baldwin County, and it'll be very close to Point Clear at this point, and of course Fairhope just to the north of that. So take care, Carolyn, while you're driving around.
Thank you very much. Brad's doing a very good job at the wheel, I have to say.
All right, thank you very much. Carolyn Day reporting live from Fairhope.
I guess we'll be seeing some video of that funnel cloud that Amy was talking about.
That's right.
Later, too.
And of course, we'll look forward to Amy's reports to try to keep you updated on where the twister that she spotted in the Foley area is headed. Let's check in one more time with Melissa Bell, who has the very latest. Melissa?
Thanks, Bob. Well, right now we did get some new information in, and right now the coordinates have not changed. So actually kind of staying stationary at the time, 30.3 north, 88.0 west. And we are talking also, just to remind everybody, hurricane warning still in effect from Gulfport to Apalachicola. Tornado watch is in effect, and that is why, because conditions are favorable for the development of tornadoes. So if there's a possible tornado right now in Baldwin County, we are under the tornado watch. We'll just have to keep a close eye to see if that is exactly a tornado, in fact. But talking about the wind speeds, everyone's talking about how strong they are around the eye, and this is our base velocity, our Doppler radar showing us that the darkest red equates to 74 miles an hour and the bright green equates to 74 miles an hour, and this is right around the eye. So right now in the area of Mobile Bay, between Baldwin County and Mobile County, you can actually see, we can observe the wind speeds right now. You can see that as you go out to the outer edges, the darker green is anywhere from about 5 up to 15 miles an hour. But as you head inland, as the colors get brighter in the green and as it gets darker in the red, these are the strong winds right around the eye. So right now, maximum sustained winds at about 75 miles an hour. So we'll have to keep updating you, and any movement right now looking like it's kind of holding stationary. Dave, Bob?
Melissa, if I could ask you a question there, if you could stay there for just a second. What can we expect in the next hour or two? The eye is apparently heading north up Mobile Bay, so that means we can expect heavier winds, say, in the downtown area and, say, in Fairhope and Daphne?
That's right, Bob. As far as what we're going to be watching for with the eye located in the Bay Area, and right now, since it's kind of looked like it's really not moving all that much, but it was looking like a northeasterly track. As it continues to push up in this direction, remember the flow around the eye. So right now, east of the eye is getting winds up from the south, west of the eye, winds from the north. So that's going to continue that pattern. Just keep that pattern and trace it on up to the north. So Fairhope is going to get some stronger winds, some heavier rain. The winds will continue to come up from the north. And then on the other side of the bay, the Mobile side of the bay, we're going to see the winds start to come on the downside, the north, come out of the north on that side of the bay. And we're also going to watch, of course, for the surge across the bay, because the winds are going to be whipping around actually due east, just north of the eye, due east here. So we're going to be coming across the bay and smashing up against the Mobile side of the bay. So folks that live along that side of the bay, you're going to have to brace yourselves, of course, for the surge. Bob?
All right, thank you very much, Melissa Bell. And we'll have more of our continuing coverage of Hurricane Danny as it moves up Mobile Bay right after this. And welcome back to our special coverage of Hurricane Danny. Good morning, everybody. We thought that things would be calm by now, but apparently that is not the case at all.
No, it's not, even though we will say top of the morning to you. We still watch Danny, and Danny is, well, at least, Bob, Danny's doing something now. It's moving.
Unfortunately, it's doing something to a lot of folks. That's true. Let's join Krista Marino now, who is in Fairhope on Highway 98. Krista.
Bob, that's right. Fox 10 photographer Russ Bradley and I left the station about 5 a.m. We are heading to Fairhope, and let me tell you what it looks like out here. We're along Scenic Highway 98. Through Daphne, the power is out, the wind is picking up, we've got several strong gusts. You can feel it as you're driving. You need to be real careful out there if you have to make it across the causeway. As we did go across the causeway, you see the water in the bay basically pushed out to the west. We are threatened by these high tides that are coming in, so we also want to take precautions that way. We are on our way to Fairhope, and that's exactly where it looks like this storm is coming through. For a while there, we didn't know where it was coming. It's been so sluggish. But at this point, as we speak, lights are popping up. and out all over the highway. You need to be real careful because the lights are going out. The wind is picking up. We're having some real strong gusts. Not too much debris in the streets as far as yet. These wind gusts seem to come in bands. But again, Russ and I are heading out, and we'll be sure to get back with you, Bob, as soon as we find something more.
Are you finding that you're driving into the wind, Krista?
It actually looks like it's coming from the north. There are so many wind gusts that are very strong. It's very erratic wind movements at this point. The gusts seem to be coming horizontal at times. But yes, we are basically driving into the storm head-on at this point, so wish us luck, Bob.
Okay, please be careful, be careful. Thank you. Krista Marino on scenic Highway 98 in Fairhope.
That does seem to be Fairhope, Foley, the general area over there seems to be taking it on the chin.
Right, and it seems like if we take one more look at the storm track radar, it seems almost that the eye is elongating, is kind of changing shape almost to fit Mobile Bay. And we can expect to see the storm winds increase as it comes closer and closer up. Of course, once the majority of the storm is over land and the eye is over land, we're going to see those storm winds diminish because the storm right now is getting the power from the warm water. And once it's deprived of that, it'll start to, the wind speed will start to drop, and it'll start to drop into tropical storm status. But at this point, you can see the eye is right over Mobile Bay, right over the middle of it. Apparently, the eye passed over Fort Morgan just a little while ago and is still buffeting that whole peninsula as well as Dauphin Island, too. We have a caller now who is on Blakely Island. Of course, that's on the western side of Mobile Bay. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
What are conditions like for you now, Donna?
Ooh, they've been pretty rough now. We've had some gusting winds and a lot of rain. We got buckets sitting everywhere catching it.
Mm-hmm.
It's raining all in the building.
So your roof is leaking?
Yes, sir.
Now, are you in a home or a business? Or?
No, I'm in a business, Coastal Fuel.
Okay.
It's blowing in through the gutters, I guess, rain gutters in the windows.
Okay. Are you, I guess the business is in operation or thought it would stay in operation?
I'm a security guard.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, security guards have to, you know, like the mailman. They got to come whether it's raining or whatever.
Rain, sleet, or snow.
Now, can you see any damage from where you are outside of the leaking roof?
No, sir, I can't see no damage. All I see is wet. It's just wet.
Donna, have you been there all night?
Yes, sir.
What's it been like through the night?
It's gotten rough from time to time now.
Has it?
Yep.
Does it seem to be rougher now than it had been?
Not to me it has. It's been gusting like this. It's kind of slowed down now. But a while ago we was getting some real gusty winds hitting the windows and blowing.
Okay, I'm afraid it may pick up. It may get worse before it gets better, Donna, so take care.
Okay.
When do you get off from work?
Well, I was supposed to get off at 5 o'clock this morning, but I'm not getting out in that mess. I'll stay right here till it's over.
I think that's probably a wise choice.
Yes, sir.
Keep the buckets out and good luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, as we can see, the storm, just want to keep you up to date as people wake up and wonder why all that noise is coming around outside. There is a lot of rain out there because the storm, since we spoke to you late last night, the storm changed track. It apparently had been heading toward the Florida Panhandle, but no, Danny decided to change his mind and reverse direction almost. As you can see now, the eye is passing right over the mouth of Mobile Bay, heading up into the bay, and Melissa Bell is standing by to give us the very latest on the storm. Melissa?
Well, that's right. We're going to be watching, of course, too, for the winds. Watching the winds, and we can actually see that with Doppler radar. That's one of the benefits of Doppler. We can actually see how fast the winds are blowing by looking at the colors. Right now, the green just means the winds are blowing towards the Mobile Doppler radar, and the red meaning blowing away. So it's giving us the counterclockwise spin, but it's the colors that I want to point out. That's what's important, because the darkest red color is showing us 64 knots or 74-mile-an-hour winds, and the very lightest green right now, which you can just see over the portions of the bay heading on into the eastern shore right around Point Clear, that's 64 knots also, so 74-mile-an-hour winds. So we can actually see right now how strong the winds are, and as the eye continues to push on inland, we're going to see the winds pick up as well as we head toward, picks up in downtown Mobile. Right now, you can hear the rain pounding away and showing you on the radar, Storm Track 10 radar, where the rain is. And earlier, Bob was talking about how as the eye continues to push on shore, you can see right now, since it's kind of just level with the coastline, seeing half on land and half out in the water. So we still have the organization. We still have the winds maintaining at 75 miles an hour. But the hopeful thought here is that as it continues to track inland, it will begin to weaken because it will fall over land, which kind of tears it up, and it doesn't have the energy from the warm waters. So as time wears on, and eventually if it pushes inland, hoping that the winds will begin to diminish around the eye. So maybe not the 75-mile-an-hour winds, but start to diminish downwards. But right now, that's not the case. We still have to deal with what the matters at hand, and we're dealing with the winds around the eye. So Gulf Shore is still receiving hammering along the beaches, because anywhere east of the eye receiving the storm surge on over to Orange Beach, Pensacola, and all the way over the Panhandle as well, still getting the surge, but it's the stronger surge, of course, right around the eye, and then those winds picking it up and dragging the water across Mobile Bay. Right in here is the bay, so the water is getting dragged across, and then we're getting a surge along the Mobile side of the bay. And then the winds are going to be coming around out of a northeasterly direction, then just out of the north. So across Dauphin Island right now, you don't have the surge problem, but of course you still have the strong winds because you're just west of the eye, and we're talking, of course, about hurricane force winds in that area of about 74 miles an hour. And as it continues to track in this direction, we're, of course, approaching Fairhope, approaching Daphne and Mobile, downtown Mobile. The winds are going to continue to pick up. Hard to say exactly how the strongest gusts that we're going to anticipate, but they will pick up over time. Bob?
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Let's go now to one of our Fox reporters who's in Gulf Shores.
People, we are told from the emergency, or told by the emergency management officials here in Escambia County, people weren't taking Danny as seriously because it was only rated a Category 1 storm, but what they were very concerned about was all the rain it's going to be bringing here. Again, between 10 and 20 inches of rain. There are only voluntary evacuation orders up for the coastal areas. And something they've never done here before, they tell me, they opened up a shelter in Gulf Breeze, which is part of the Barrier Island chain here along the Gulf, because that high school, Gulf Breeze High School, is in the evacuation area, but there was not a mandatory evacuation order that went up, just voluntary. And at the Gulf Breeze High School, only the volunteers, the Red Cross volunteers, were camping out, but they had to be there in case anybody at the last minute decided they needed to get out of their homes. The concern the officials told us was that with the rain overnight, they were afraid that a lot of people might get frightened and at very odd hours of the morning decide, I need to go, and that was not a good thing, Jane. They were saying that folks who did not evacuate voluntarily overnight should just stay home. There are flash flood warnings, tornado warnings. There was a tornado touchdown just about, say 90 miles west of here in southern Alabama with some damage at a marina. But so far as we can tell, no injuries because of that one death in Alabama from the storm, a man who went out on a sailboat yesterday afternoon and was found dead. We'll be back at 8 o'clock and have a lot of the sights and sounds for you from our overnight adventures here in Pensacola Beach.
Okay.
Wow.
You know, looking at the latest graphic on Danny, he still seems to be just squatting right there in the Gulf and churning and pumping all that moisture inland.
Right, and as long as the eye remains over water, I guess perhaps that's the most important part of the storm at this point in terms of power. And it's still getting power from the water. And you know, hopefully as it moves north, it's going to start to break apart, as Melissa mentioned. But right now, as you can see, it's still moving very, very slowly.
About half and half.
Right, right over the mouth of Mobile Bay at this point. We have some wind data in from Dauphin Island with wind gusts at 3 a.m. up to 42 knots, and also at 4 a.m. gusting to 21 knots as well. So it's been a wild night on Dauphin Island as well as all across the Gulf Coast. Jeff Hazelwood is on the phone right now from Elsinore. Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, good morning.
What's it doing in Elsinore now?
It's really got kind of wild over here. I went to bed expecting nothing, woke up, and this done got pretty rough over here.
You and me both. I was surprised to wake up and find that the storm had decided to come back.
Did the storm wake you up, Jeff?
Yeah, I woke up, there wasn't no electricity here, and then electricity come back on, but I got about an 80-year-old oak tree in my front yard, and it's really whooping it around out here.
Hope you don't lose it.
No, me too. Been here a long time.
You're probably lucky to get your power back up that quick.
Yeah, I know it. I guess it's off about 30 minutes, come back on, but it's really increased the wind, rain. I got a lake here out here in my front yard, and it's just about going over the dam now.
You haven't seen any funnel clouds, have you?
No, sir. I've been looking a while ago when they was talking about that one, but it's rain and winds just picked up, blowing real bad out here.
Are your neighbors staying out the storm?
Well, my parents live right down from me in a brick home. I'm in a mobile home here, a brand new one, but it ain't really been bad enough to get out of here.
What about the rain? Is it about to wash you away?
Oh, it's plenty of rain on the ground. Plenty of rain.
Y'all have any problem with streets or anything flooding out where you live?
No, sir. I live off on a dirt road here, but it's a lot of rain on the ground. But as far as flooding, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Maybe to get on out of here.
What are you going to do today, Jeff?
What's that?
What are you going to do today?
I guess we're going to sit around and watch it rain.
I think that's what everybody's going to be doing, Jeff.
Me too. Well, thanks for calling in and sharing with us, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
All right, we'll try, and you too as well. As we're continuing to update you, it's just a little bit after 6 o'clock. For those of you who may be listening on the radio and lost power and wonder what time it is a little bit after 6, about 7 after, and to bring you up to date once again, the storm changed path as most people went to sleep thinking it was heading out of their area and is now right in the middle of Mobile Bay, heading north up through there and moving very, very slowly. It has passed over Fort Morgan just a short time ago and continues on its trek up the bay, and that means a lot of heavy rain throughout the day in Baldwin County and Mobile County, and of course a lot of high wind if you're in Baldwin County. You're going to have the wind coming up out of the south. If you're in Mobile County, it's going to be whipping down through the north. So be prepared for a very noisy morning and perhaps even early afternoon, because this is a rather large storm. Once the eye passes over, that's one thing, but then there's still plenty of storm to go after the eye passes.
And to update those who are just joining us, a little while ago we were talking to Amy Greer Thompson, who was over on Highway 59 around Foley and had spotted a funnel cloud, and I believe she's back with us again.
She's in Barnwell now. Amy?
Yes, Bob, we're in Barnwell, of course, not too far from Fairhope, and driving just through this portion of Baldwin County, I tell you what, the storm damage is tremendous. We can see major flooding already. The roads are not covered. 98 is still passable, but there's a lot of water. But there are just tremendous lakes where these farmland and huge acres of farmland have been. It's really just tremendous lakes right now, covered in water. We've seen a lot of trees down. Of course, those pecan trees are always so brittle. They snap so easily. We've always seen that. A lot of pecan trees down from these beautiful pecan orchards here in Baldwin County. I'm at the Barnwell Country Store right now. We can see the roof is ripping off before my eyes. In fact, talking about getting quick shots of this. The tin roof is ripping off, and the roof over the awning of the gas island, major portions of it are gone, so we can see there's been some major damage here.
What happened to the funnel cloud, Amy? Did it dissipate?
I don't know what happened to it. We continued driving. We had to head east here towards Fairhope, and it might have continued up 59. It may have slowly risen back up into the sky. We lost sight of it, but at least we did see the damage from that. But again, we're going to have heavy, heavy water damage and crop damage, I would imagine, here in Baldwin County.
So have the roads been blocked by falling trees?
So far, no. We've seen a lot of trees down, Bob, but mostly in yards. A few major pine trees, a couple of oak trees I've seen down, mostly primarily pecan trees and those beautiful orchards that you see here along 98.
Amy, you mentioned crop damage. Have you observed any of the fields flooding?
Oh yes, Dave, tremendously. I mean, a lot of these farmers have just recently planted soybean, of course, and a lot of it's just completely underwater. In fact, a lot of the big fields around here are they look like lakes.
Yeah, it's sad, really.
All right,
there are going to be some real headaches in the next couple of days.
Yeah,
no kidding.
We're continuing now toward Fairhope, and then also probably maybe up to the Causeway. So we'll keep you posted on what happens.
Good, thank you, Amy.
Okay, we're joined now by Nancy McKenna, who is at Fort Morgan. And Nancy, we understand that you're in the eye of the storm?
Well, it sure feels like it hasn't changed much since about 12:30, 1 o'clock. The winds have to be gusting to 80 or 85 miles an hour at least, and the sea's probably at 6 to 8 feet.
So you say it's calm at this point, though?
It's a little better than it was about an hour ago.
Okay.
What's been happening out there?
Lots of rain, lots of wind. The house feels it's moving with it.
Now, describe, is your house right on the Gulf side?
Yes, it's on the Gulf, right on the beach.
Right on the beach,
Yes.
okay. Have you suffered any damage, any leaking roofs, anything like that?
A couple leaks here and there, but overall pretty much okay. And in the neighborhood, I don't see a lot of physical damage to the house.
And did you ever lose power at all?
We lost power at 2:30.
And it's still out?
It's still out.
Any idea how many of your neighbors are affected? Your whole street or the whole
Well,
area?
everybody, it's pretty dark down here right now, even with daylight coming up, and I don't think anybody has power at all.
Now, are you surprised by what you see when you look outside?
Not at all. But it's pretty impressive, let me tell you.
Give us a little description of it.
Those waves are pretty impressive. It looks like an oil painting, and it's a whole wall of sea when you look out. It's actually beautiful. If it wasn't so scary, it would be pretty impressive to go out and walk, actually. But we're staying tight in the house.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Those of you who still have power, you're looking at a live picture now from Gulf Shores. This is what it looks like in Gulf Shores this morning after the hurricane passed pretty much right next to Gulf Shores as it went on its way over Fort Morgan. And there is a picture. You can see the very heavy seas. It's difficult to tell exactly how much beach erosion has taken place by this picture. I'm not sure we know exactly where in Gulf Shores this is. Otherwise, I'd be happy to pass that along to you. But as you can see, the waves are still crashing into the shore, and we can just imagine what it looks like.
There will be some damage to the beach, I'm sure, in that area with that type of pounding.
Right. The pavilion was heavily damaged right at the foot of 59 after Aaron and Opal, and it took about a year to rebuild the pavilion. It looked great. I'm hoping it's still there and still in one piece. Looking at our storm track radar, you can see the eye is spanning the mouth still of Mobile Bay. It has passed over, for the most part, Fort Morgan Peninsula and is heading out into toward Middle Bay Light in that area, and that means it's bringing a lot of very, very heavy rain along the eastern shore of Baldwin County as it continues to inch up a little closer to the Point Clear area, for example. And it must also be whipping up the winds on Dauphin Island as well on the west side of the storm, too.
We have a couple of announcements to make, Bob. Quincy Compressors of Bay Minette, the first shift, they have been instructed not to report to work today. That's Quincy Compressors, Bay Minette. And Atlantic Marine, the Alabama shipyard at Pinto Island, Atlantic Marine closed today.
We can understand why. And we'll have more of our continuing coverage of Hurricane Danny after this.
You're watching WALA Fox 10.
Again, we're showing you some live pictures. If we can go back to those live pictures from Gulf Shores, I believe they're ready again. We saw the waves crashing into the beach. These are, again, live pictures from the southern shore of Baldwin County, and you can see the waves are still tremendous.
Surf's up.
Yes. You don't want to go out in the middle of it, that's for sure. I want to thank all of you for watching who still have power, and all of you who are listening on the Emergency News Network. We're going to bring you up to date on what is happening with Hurricane Danny as more and more people wake up and go, what is this? Did I have a nightmare? No, it's no dream.
Nope,
the nightmare is real. Let's check in one more time with Melissa Bell.
Thanks, Bob. That's right. Starting to watch the winds really pick up, especially right around the Mobile Bay area, right in between Baldwin County and Mobile County. We were watching it earlier, kind of tracking along, kind of seemed to be taking an easterly track earlier, very early morning hours, but now almost a due northerly track, so right up into Mobile Bay. It is moving very slowly, but we are watching it on that track. And right now, the colors that we're looking at here, this is called base reflectivity, but it's showing us the wind speeds. So we're looking at wind speeds right around the eye, the very darkest red and the very brightest green. You can see equates on the scale right here. Dark red, 64 knots, bright green, 64 knots. I mean, 74 miles an hour right in this area, so right around Point Clear, heading on up towards Fairhope. You're going to be seeing winds right in the area anywhere from 65 miles an hour, gusts up to 75 miles an hour, right across the bay. And we have radar we can show you on our Storm Track 10 radar exactly what's going on as far as the precipitation goes, the rain goes, all the way wrapping around the eye, and the northerly winds down across Dauphin Island. We've got the winds coming up out of the south across Gulf Shores. So, of course, we're going to see the surge all the way across from Gulf Shores on over towards Orange Beach. So we're going to have to watch it and see if it continues to track further inland. If it does so, what we're hoping, of course, is that it's going to disintegrate and at least weaken somewhat. But it seems like before it does that, we're going to have to get through quite a bit more rain because of the slow movement. That means a lot more rain accumulating. Well, I'm going to be heading out for a little while, and my storm team member, John Ed Thompson, is going to be joining us.
Thank you, Melissa, for being up for all hours.
That's why we call it Storm Team 10, because we've got a team of guys working together. We've got Melissa Bell working here. We've got Don Davis in the field, along with Amy Greer and everybody else. Amy Greer Thompson. I must say that she does have a great last name.
I thought you'd say that.
Yeah.
But it was a rude awakening for you, I'll bet.
I tell you the truth. Now, I would like to take and overlay the charts of various hurricanes in the past. I don't think we'll find any hurricane that made this exact move.
That's true. Elena was one that seemed to be headed toward Tampa and then turned around and came back.
Yeah, Elena took itself all the way towards Cedar Key, made the loop, came back, and then went up through past Skagula. And, of course, Frederick came out of the Caribbean across, and it never changed course.
Right. It made a beeline right for us. But as you can see, the eye is now right over the mouth of Mobile Bay still. It really hasn't moved in the past hour or so.
I think the National Hurricane Center, John Ed, was reluctant to say until they were able to analyze it that this storm actually made a fraction of a degree turn about, I guess, 4 o'clock this morning due north.
Due north.
And then another fraction of a degree due north.
Yes.
And our own news director, Chuck Bark, had been saying all night this is going to go into Mobile Bay and Fort Morgan, and look what happened.
Well, I tell you what, as early as 5:45 yesterday afternoon, the Mobile Hurricane, or the Mobile Weather Center out at the airport, said that it would be in Mobile Bay, and after it passed on into southern Baldwin County off the coast there, it looked like that course was not going to happen. So as early as 5:45 yesterday afternoon, the guys at the National Weather Service here in Mobile said it would be in Mobile Bay, and I tell you the truth, late last night I would not have believed it myself.
Right. It is a very odd situation.
Do you think, John Ed, that this storm now is going to come on ashore sometime today and begin to break up and move on inland?
It's been sitting stationary now for about an hour or two. It's sitting right there over water. Now, of course, the bay is nowhere near as warm as the Gulf waters. In other words, the water is shallower and it's had the cooling of the night. So right now it's not being fed a lot. It may be less than a hurricane right this minute. But as you saw on the base reflectivity chart there, you could see it's still getting very strong winds, especially over along the eastern shore, talking about the Point Clear Fairhope area. That's where some of the strongest winds are at the present time. And then getting back on the west side, as the winds shift around and come from the north, they're very strong also on the western side of the bay, especially from Fowl River south to about Alabama Port. And, of course, the people on Dauphin Island, we'll have to check in with some of those people, and they're in the brunt of the storm right this minute.
Okay, in just a couple of seconds, we're going to be talking live with Rita Cosby, who is in Gulf Shores. She's having some difficulty just standing up. The winds are so strong. We're going to be going to her in just a second, as soon as we can establish some contact with Rita Cosby in Gulf Shores. But the waves are still very, very heavy there, even though the eye has passed that part of Baldwin County, but that really doesn't seem to make much difference down in Gulf Shores.
Look at the location of the eye of the storm and seeing it right there in the bay, keeping in mind that the storm does have a circulation of counterclockwise, pushing the winds out of the east to the west on the west side of the bay and pushing the winds basically off to the north along the eastern shore.
Okay, Rita Cosby, can you hear us down in Gulf Shores?
Yes, I certainly can, and as you can see, the weather is just ferocious here. We have been here all morning, and in the past couple hours, there has just been a tremendous downpour. The winds are very fierce. We're told that they are being clocked at more than 60 miles an hour. In the last couple of minutes, we've seen a couple tree limbs falling. We have seen debris flying by. And we've also, as you can tell, take a look over here. We'll show you the picture. You can see the waves are crashing in, and you can see the wind is just whipping very fiercely at the palm trees behind me. This is indeed where we are being told that the eye of the hurricane is going to be passing through. And we are told that the worst is still yet to come in this area.
Hey, Rita, can you give us an idea of where in Gulf Shores you are, some landmarks that are around so the folks who are watching us can get an idea of exactly where you are?
Yeah, we are actually just a few miles away from, we're in Perdido Key, and we are actually just a few miles from Pensacola. We are close to a causeway bridge, and we are just about 2 or 3 miles, literally, from the Alabama-Florida border. Right near a Best Western, if you're familiar with Perdido Key, and we are in a condominium complex facing right out, and of course residents here are extremely concerned.
Well, Rita, if your sources are correct, then this storm is going to have to continue to shift a little bit more easterly in order for the eye to come across where you are standing now, right?
Yeah, that is what we are being told. In fact, local forecasters are telling us that it could come into this area probably midday today. If the eye does not directly hit here, we are still going to get a powerful punch. They're saying no doubt this area is going to be hit significantly hard.
And which means Pensacola would take the eastern side of the hit from the storm then, I guess, if it's a 25-mile reach.
Exactly, and as you were mentioning, the east part of the storm is usually one of the more powerful parts of the storm, so this area is going to get it very hard.
If you could describe for us what kind of damage you've seen so far. You mentioned tree limbs and everything. Have you noticed construction damage, home damage?
Yes, we have seen a bit of structural damage. We've seen a couple windows, a couple glass doors actually flying by. There's a pool at this complex that is completely overflowing, filled with lots of debris. We saw a couple chairs flying by. And there's, of course, just a lot of environmental damage. We're seeing a lot of tidal surge, lots of flooding in this area, and you can bet that there's going to be a lot of cleanup.
Tell at all whether there's been any damage to the beach.
Overall, we have seen that there's quite a bit of debris on the beach. We can tell that there's a little bit of erosion. We can tell that the tidal surge is definitely hitting. The waves in this area are usually pretty calm, and right now they are clocked, we are told, around 6 to 8 feet tall. So you can bet that, especially if it gets worse, there will be some damage to the beach area along here.
Now, are these the worst conditions that you've experienced so far during the storm?
Yes, it definitely is, and we have been following the storm. We started in Biloxi, Mississippi, and then we also went to Alabama. We were in Mobile for quite a bit, and then we moved up.
Pensacola and that area, you just heard it right here. Pensacola may yet get a pretty good hit from this storm if it does indeed continue to track eastward right along the edge of the Gulf.
As we can see, the eye is over Mobile Bay, and Perdido Key is some distance from that, and you can see the kind of wind that she was experiencing there. So there is a wide area of very, very heavy wind that's extending out from the eye walls. Let's check in now with Margaret Moore, who is live on Government Street, and it looks like it's kind of a mess. Margaret?
It really is. I'm here with Mark Brinkman of the Admiral Sims, and I'll tell you, we just said to you all a few minutes ago we thought we were going to lose that awning, and we certainly did. Mark, you're in charge of security. I guess you're going to have to be pretty busy.
Yes, we're doing damage control during the storm, trying to keep the hotel in a reasonable manner so that the technicians in the morning can get in and fix everything.
Okay, so you're really prepared for this. You said you've been moving things you think would break?
Yes, we've been moving things that we thought would break, that would cause a flying hazard in the wind, throwing the pool furniture into the pool, things of that nature.
Okay, and you all are pretty much full to capacity, the way I understand it. I know a number of people from our station are staying over there. Who are the rest of the people?
Well, we do have 2 conventions from out of state. We have a few storm orphans, some of our own employees, and as you said, your personnel as well have been staying in the hotel.
What's the mood from these folks who are coming in who are from out of town?
Well, from out of town, they seem to be a bit frightened, perhaps a bit awed. Apparently, they may not have seen a storm of this nature before. Most of the employees, most of the locals are pretty much used to it. It's a hurricane. Hurricanes happen.
But you all really didn't think it was going to be a problem earlier, so you came into work and found out that it was awfully close to us. Was that a surprise?
Yes, ma'am, it was. I'm working the 11 to 7 shift. When I went to sleep today, I had pretty much assumed it was going to pass us by. And coming into work tonight, I found out it was not. So I did have to scramble a bit there.
Well, we appreciate you coming out in the rain and talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I tell you, the weather's pretty bad out here. We just heard some people screeching. No car accident, though, and we'll toss it back to you.
I'm going to be heading over that way to take a nap in just a few short minutes, I hope.
That's right. It'll be a well-deserved nap for staying up all night, that's for sure. James Gordan is on the phone once again from Daughtry Island. He's been there throughout the storm. James, what are the conditions like now?
Well, Daughtry Island right now is receiving a pounding from the north, as John Ed was saying. We're talking about counterclockwise winds, so we have strong winds coming from the north, and I could tell because it's exactly the opposite of where those winds were last night. So a steady wind, probably I would guess it's clocking at 70 miles an hour at least, and a pretty good surge also out at Mobile Bay.
Now, are you inside your live van at this point, or are you someplace else?
So we're inside the live van, and it's pretty much like a washing machine. It's shaking and moving, and we wouldn't try to go outside until this passes, if at all. It's been pretty steady for the last half hour.
Have you noticed any emergency vehicles out there this morning, or you're pretty much by yourself?
No, we're pretty much by ourselves. We've seen some vehicles drive by, but they were apparently just folks who weathered the storm over the night and were either curious driving by. Haven't seen any emergency vehicles. It looks like things are pretty safe or tight at this time.
Pretty quiet and pretty secure, huh?
Yeah, so far. But as I can tell you, we're witness to those very, very strong winds coming out of the north.
Now, you're not too far away from the campground there. Did you know, have a lot of people left that area, or are there still people there?
Well, it looks like the campers are still there, but the folks who were living in them must have left last night because it looked pretty quiet, but they must have left their campers behind.
All right, thank you. James Gordan reporting live from Daughtry Island. We'll keep in contact with you throughout the morning as the storm progresses. And we'll be right back with more of our coverage of Hurricane Danny in a minute. Welcome back to our Hurricane Danny special report. It's now 6:32. For those of you waking up and may have lost power and are listening to us on the emergency news service, we appreciate that. I want to bring you up to date on the storm, as a lot of people are getting up and wondering what in heaven's name has happened overnight. Well, the storm turned around and decided to head right up Mobile Bay. And if you're able to see us, you can see that picture of the eye right over the mouth of Mobile Bay. And John Ed Thompson is back with us to give us an update on what the storm is doing now. John Ed?
Okay, here's what we have right now. This is the 6 a.m. coordinate as far as Hurricane Danny is concerned, and it's pretty accurate as to where it is right now. 30.3 degrees north latitude, longitude 88.0 degrees west. That's about 25 miles to the south-southeast of Mobile. In other words, sitting right there in the mouth of the bay. It has a slow drift to the north-northeast, and the winds still at the center are at 75 miles per hour. We'll go ahead and move forward and show you this is the line that we've had all night long as far as a hurricane warning, all the way from Apalachicola, Florida, over to Gulfport, Mississippi, and throughout the entire area. Tornado watches have been in effect. Now, this is the way it spun itself during the nighttime hours. As you see, it sat here south of Fort Morgan for a good while and then finally made a northerly turn and passed right over Fort Morgan and pushed itself right into the mouth of Mobile Bay. And you could see by the whirl of the rain, the feeder bands moving on shore in northwest Florida and then pushing across Baldwin County and then coming right up through the Delta. Let's go ahead and look at Storm Track 10 color radar and show you exactly what we have. That blue area is the eye of Hurricane Danny. Here is Dauphin Island proper, and here is Gulf Shores. The eye of the the storm passed just to the east of the ship channel. In other words, it passed right over Fort Morgan and then pushed on into the lower part of the bay, just as Admiral Farragut did back in the Civil War, pushing right up into the bay. And here's what we have. If you'll notice these lines right here, these are individual cells or thunderstorms and showing their direction. They're not always going in the same direction that most of the wind is going. This individual cell sitting right up here to the southeast of Bay Minette is tracking off to the northeast. But once you get up here in the northern part of the bay, getting close to the city of Mobile, you've got very strong easterly winds, slightly northwest as you see as it's coming out of the east. Very strong winds pushing onshore. This right here, I'm pretty sure is Dog River. You move a little further south and you've got Fowl River proper right here. So we are getting two storm surges in this situation. You get the storm surge south in Baldwin County coming up from the ocean. You're getting another lashing of water pushing against the city of Mobile, pushing into the state docks, and pushing in here over the southern part of the city of Mobile. So you've got the city of Mobile right here. You've pushed south down Dauphin Island Parkway, and this is Dog River. And you can see that cell right there that right now is south of Point Clear. That cell is not going to track with the wind. It's going to track like so. So you've got the wind and the rain coming across the bay and hitting the western side of Mobile Bay. And if you look right back down there, that blue area is the water of Mobile Bay, and that is the eye of Danny. You've got individual cells now pushing from the east to the west, coming across the bay. And if you'll go right down the eastern shore, you've got, of course, the Fairhope area pushed down toward the Grand Hotel. This is the Great Point Clear right there. And then you push south of there, heading down further south in the bay, and you come up on the eye. Let's go ahead and go back out wide and repeat those coordinates for you at 30.3 north and 88.0 degrees west. Now, the lines along your map would show you that 88 degrees west would be right about east of the ship channel. In other words, the ship channel runs through past the Middle Bay Light, continues south, of course, past the Sand Island Light, and continues out into the Gulf. But the line that would run just slightly east of the ship channel would be 88 degrees west on the longitudinal scale, and 30 degrees north latitude would be the line that runs just offshore. So it's not just offshore, it's just into the Mobile Bay right now at about 30.3 north and 88.0 degrees west. So we've got some pretty heavy action out there right now. The worst of the weather is right over here on the eastern side. Let's go ahead and move forward if we can. I think we have the vorticity. Yes, we do. We have the base for reflectivity on our other computer to show you some of what's going on. This is the way it looks now. If you look right here, this is the weakest of the winds, the darker scale, and as you move into the lighter scale, you come up with 64 knot winds. Same on the bottom. It starts out and then as it gets darker, the strength of the wind is most down here in the dark area. Actually, as it gets into the lighter area, it's the strongest. Okay, it starts out in the dark area, gets into the lighter area. So if you look where the lightest area is just around the Point Clear area, on through Fairhope, and then continuing up into the Mobile River Delta. So the strongest winds are being felt right here over the eastern side of Mobile Bay from near Point Clear through the Fairhope and Daphne area, and then continuing up towards Spanish Fort and then across Tensaw and into the Delta. So very strong winds are associated with the storm, and the storm is situated right here in the mouth of Mobile Bay. That's what we have up until now. We'll keep our eyes on it with our various computers and various radar systems. It is in the bay, and it's moving, it looks like, off to the north, and that north course would take it right up the bay just to the east of the ship channel.
Thank you very much, John Ed. Anissa Centers joins us now, who's also rudely awakened by the storm this morning.
Yes, to say the least. I tried to get some sleep last night. I was continuously awakened and didn't realize exactly why until I got into work this morning and realized that Danny had once again changed his mind.
That's right. Let's take a quick peek at some live pictures we have from Perdido Key. At this point, you can see the waves are still very, very strong. Tremendous waves being kicked up by Danny this morning. Again, this is a live picture from Perdido Key. And you can see the beach there. You can see what must have been a volleyball net, and you can tell if you look at the net just how strong the wind is, and just by looking at the waves, you can see just the tremendous power of this storm. Amy Scarborough joins us on the line from Bell South. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, pretty good.
Long night.
Yes. How are phone conditions around the area?
Well, we're pretty proud of the network right now. It's holding up very well, and there are a couple of reasons for that. A lot of it is buried underground, and we also have generators, so in case we lose commercial power at our central offices, the phones will continue to work. We also have employees that are working today in case we run into any problems.
Okay, but you really haven't run into very many storm-related problems, at least in the Bell South network, then?
Right. Now, we don't serve the south part of Mobile County or the south part of Baldwin County, but so far our system is holding up very well. We would like to ask our customers to refrain from using their phones a great deal, use them sparingly during the storm. Sometimes high call volumes can cause a slow dial tone. We're not experiencing that right now, though.
Okay, thank you. Amy Scarborough
Thank
from
you.
Bell South. We appreciate the update there.
And we've got a call from Alabama Power, Bernie Fogarty. How are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
Now, how have you been holding up under the onslaught?
Well, personally doing okay. I'm on the Eastern Shore, and we've had lights off and on, I guess since about 4 o'clock this morning. Presently we're on, but this area is served by the city of Fairhope. Alabama Power Company in Mobile has about 5,000 customers out of service right now. We've had Dauphin Island out since about 6 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and that's approximately 1,500 customers. So the other customers are going to be scattered widely throughout South Mobile County, and really we're just now starting to get reports in of lights out. People are starting to wake up now, and they're finding that the lights went out while they were sleeping, and so we expect that the numbers of customers without power will increase as the storm moves a little closer up into Mobile and the Causeway.
Now, Bernie, did you sort of pull the plug on Dauphin Island as a safety measure, or is that something that was just the storm did for you?
No, we did not. The storm did that, and it was just impossible for us to get down into that area to make any kind of repairs. So as soon as we can get into that area, we'll fly the line to determine exactly where the problem is located and then go to work from there.
Are there any other areas that have been trouble spots like Dauphin Island, because it was hit particularly hard early yesterday?
It was. Don't have any particular trouble spots. We had a little trouble in Tillman's Corner area last night when limb fell on a line, but that problem, I believe, was corrected later in the afternoon, and now what we're getting are just widely scattered reports of outages in South Mobile County. I would like to say right now, since we are starting to get reports of more light out calls, is that our customers and passersby should use extreme caution. If they see a line down, stay away from it, keep the pets away from it. Give us a call on our 800 number. That's 1-800-888-2726, and make the report.
So they shouldn't assume that the line is dead. It very well may still be alive.
That's correct.
All right, thank you. Bernie Fogarty from Alabama Power. Keep us up to date as people wake up and say, hey, what's wrong? I don't have any power. Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you, Bob.
We're going to take a quick break right now, but we will be back with continuing coverage of Hurricane Danny as he decides to make his way along the Gulf Coast. Welcome back to Fox 10's continuing coverage of Hurricane Danny, our special report.
And for all of you just waking up, it's 6:45 in the morning, in case you're listening to us on the emergency news service. And you may have lost power. We know there are scattered power outages, of course, in southern Baldwin County, because that's where the storm really hit. And also Dauphin Island is still without power, has been since about 6:30 last night. And there'll be scattered power outages, I'm sure, throughout the day. Krista Marino joins us on the phone now from Point Clear, where you really must be getting hammered. Krista?
That's right, and bear with me, Bob. I'm trying to maneuver the car as we speak here. We are getting bounced around in the news car as we speak. The wind gusts, as far as we're concerned, is reaching probably 50, 60 miles per hour out here. The wind is definitely howling. There are trees down in the road. We've seen power lines just pinched in two, snapped in two. Oak trees actually near the pier, the Fairhope Pier, are down. You need to be real careful if you're going to try to get outside. I'd advise you not to. However, there are several curiosity seekers. We've even seen guys in some golf carts near the Grand Hotel, and that's exactly where we are now. Like I said, the trees are blowing in the wind. It is pretty impressive out here. We are seeing sheets of rain just pounding us. The sun has come out, obviously, so we're able to see the damage more clearly. We were over at the Magnolia Beach condos, and there's a drainage. And we're going through some floods here, so bear with me. There's some drainage water that is just rushing through the Magnolia Beach condos by it. It's a pretty impressive sight. Bob, it's just it's gaining strength out here as we speak. Again, I wanted to tell you that we were out near the Fairhope Pier. I don't want to get stuck in the road here. And very impressive sight. The water in the bay basically being sucked out at a rapid pace. Very impressive sight, and it kind of makes you think, what's going to happen when the eye of this storm passes through? Where will that water go? Obviously, back to us. So we're expecting some real in the low-lying areas, some massive flooding. So you need to be really, really careful if you're going to try to get out. Bob, Anissa?
How about trees across the road? Any evidence of that so far?
Yes, right past Fairhope on Scenic Highway 98, we've had to maneuver our way around at least two very big trees that have snapped. I even saw one snap in front of me, a very big pine tree. So you can imagine the strength of the wind to basically snap these trees. Again, I saw an oak tree, and you know how strong those oak trees are that was pulled out of the ground right near the Fairhope Pier. So, again, there are roads blocked by trees, by flooding, and some power lines as well.
Krista, after hearing what you've described, oak trees being pulled out of the ground, and you say there's some people who are curious and are riding around even in golf carts, are there any law enforcement officials out trying to keep people inside?
You know, that's a good question. I've only seen one police officer. I'm sure they are out combing the area. The men that we saw in the golf carts were from Point Clear. I'm sure that they were on their way inside, hopefully. We stopped and talked to them for just a second, but it's very hard to even talk in this weather. It's when you go outside, the wind is basically howling. I wish you could hear it. You wouldn't be able to hear me if I rolled down the window. We are right now pulling into the very tip of Point Clear, and I am able to see the waves as we speak. The surf, I would say about 5 to 7 foot waves out here. It's a pretty impressive sight. But Anissa, like I said, law enforcement I'm sure is out there, but we've only seen one so far.
Okay, so your advice to folks would be pretty much to stay in their homes, not to try to venture out because of all the trees that may be blocking the road, and you could really get into some big trouble.
It is not safe to be outside, Bob, no. I would advise you to really stay inside. I know that the power is out all along the eastern shore here. People are calling in. I know that we got a call. We heard from the Eastern Shore Mobile Home Park, and I know that they're pretty much freaking out at this point. You know, we didn't really expect this storm to take this turn. We were all kind of breathing a sigh of relief last night. We thought it may be heading to Pensacola, but this storm is just, even though it's slow going, it is packing quite a punch. I wish you could see the wind gusts out here. It's very impressive. Fox 10 Russ Bradley, photographer, is getting it all on tape, so don't worry. We're going to show you what this looks like as soon as we get back.
Okay, thank you. Krista Marino reporting live from the Point Clear area.
Yes, and we have on the phone Bill Story, the assistant fire chief out in Grand Bay, an area that's been bracing for this for quite some time. Thank you for calling us.
Okay.
I don't believe he's there with us.
Okay,
I'm still here.
Let's go back to Rita Cosby right now at Perdido Key. Rita?
Well, as you can see, the weather is quite vicious here in Perdido Key. This is just a few miles away from Pensacola, very close to the Florida-Alabama border. And in the last few hours, we have seen an extremely severe downpour. We are told that there are 60-mile-an-hour winds. Tree limbs have been falling. We've seen debris flying by, chairs flying by. The waves are crashing in, and all this because Hurricane Danny turns on shore. Pounding rain is relentlessly beating down on towns near Pensacola, Florida, which forecasters predicted would be ground zero for Hurricane Danny. But the slow-moving storm is taking its time to hit land, and frustrated residents can only wait.
I'm so tired being cooped up in that room. 2 days we've been at this, watching the weather, waiting to see, trying to get on with our vacation, and just get cabin fever.
Very long, very drawn out.
That's nature. You ain't got no control over that. So that's all you can do is just wait and see what happens.
Mother Nature could dump up to 20 inches of rain along the storm's track, and rain isn't the only sign of Danny's fury.
Throughout most of the night, powerful hurricane-like winds battered resort communities like this one. The winds here are so strong, I can barely stand up.
In Fairhope, Alabama, just outside of Mobile, rough seas and strong winds left minor damage and major concern.
We're just sitting there relaxing and, be real quiet at one moment and another moment be real loud.
But residents here are relieved that as far as hurricanes go, Danny's punch has been relatively mild.
Of course we're happy that we've been spared. You know, when you live on the Gulf Coast, though, you kind of expect this.
It seems to be the sentiment of a lot of people here. They are accepting it because it is Mother Nature. And of course, because we are told that the eye could pass directly here or very close to here, things could certainly get worse, especially immediately before the eye comes, because as we know, that is when the most ferocious part of the hurricane comes, and then the calm of the eye, and then of course you get pounded one more time. Back to you.
Hey, Rita, we have Doppler radar here, and we can see that the eye has indeed passed to the west of you. It's right in the mouth of Mobile Bay at this point, so you're really very close to the eye at this point. We talked to you about an hour ago. Do you think it's gotten worse in that time? Rita? Apparently,
I believe we've lost contact with her. They let you know just how ferocious the winds are, because as you can see, she was holding on to a rail, it looked like, at a condominium where she was trying to brace herself against the wind, and she's been doing that pretty much all day, so there's not a lot of a surprise that we lost contact with her on that particular note. But we do have Johnette Thompson in the Weather Center, and he's standing by live to give us an update on Danny. Johnette?
Okay, thank you, Anissa. This is a loop of what's been going on throughout the midnight till about 5 a.m. This is the way the center of the storm was situated. It was situated south of Mobile Bay throughout much of the nighttime hours and sitting nearly stationary. It kind of wobbled a bit, then decided it would make a northerly turn at around 4 a.m. And then, as we talked earlier, it's supposed to make landfall. Well, it didn't strike much land. It struck this little spit of sand right here that's called the Fort Morgan Peninsula, and it came right across Fort Morgan and on into the mouth of the bay, and that's where it's situated right now. Let's go ahead and look at Doppler radar now. They're placing the storm as of 6 a.m. at 30.3 degrees north and 88.0 degrees west. And the lines, as we mentioned earlier, the lines as you move on latitude to the north would be about 30 degrees right about here. So 30 degrees is just south of Fort Morgan, 30.3 is into the bay, and if you're looking from east to west, you would end up with 88.0 right here on the east side of the ship channel. Some of the worst weather is being felt, as we said earlier, right here along the eastern shore from south of Point Clear on through the Fairhope area, continuing on up toward Daphne. So you're getting a strong wind flow coming out of the southeast in your area, and you can see by these arrows right here on the radar showing you the lines of demarcation as far as its direction is concerned. Individual thunderstorms moving off to the north and moving off to the northwest. Then you get into the delta right here, the delta of Mobile River. Get up here and the wind is moving out of the east to the west. You get into Mobile and you're getting very strong winds. If you back out to the wide shot, you can see that the winds way out on the fringes are only blowing at, say, 15 to 20 miles per hour out toward Panama City. But the closer you get in, it gets down and you get around the Pensacola to Perdido Key area, you're getting winds of 40 to 60 miles per hour. But then as you get right near the center, you're getting winds of 75 miles per hour, and that would be right there on the bottom part of the bay. We're going to zoom back in and show you exactly the situation as we look into the eye of the storm. You've got Dolphin Island right here. You've got Fairhope right here. The eye is situated right here, covering about 1/4 of Mobile Bay, and that storm right there is moving from Point Clear over the west into the island over the next hour or so. The arrows just show you exactly which direction these individual storms are moving, and some of the heaviest rainfall indicated right here by orange is some of the heaviest rain is going right on over Dauphin Island right now from the northwest to the southeast.
Thank you very much, Johnette Thompson. We'll be back with more of our continuing coverage of Hurricane Danny right after this break.